There we go. Greetings. Great to have you with us as we are rocking and rolling another edition of Broadcast Excellence, 3 hours straight ahead. Hosted by me, Rush Limbaugh, here behind the golden EIB microphone. Telephone number, if you want to join us, and I'm sure you do, is 800-282-2882. The email address, lrushbo@eibnet.us. I have... I'm always interested in people's reaction to this program. So I think I have a lot of empathy, and I think that I'm pretty much, I get an idea. I think one of the reasons why the relationship you and I have is good is because I know how you hear this show. That's, I think, a key ingredient. It's called empathy. I know how you hear it. And so when I check emails and get questions from people, usually I'm not surprised, and I'm not surprised that I got beaucoup number of questions. Rush, you don't sound panicked over any of this. You did your the last 2 days. You don't sound panicked, and yet everybody's panicked. I'm panicked, people say in their email. I'm scared to death. I mean, I look at stock market was pulling up to 30,000. Now it's down to 21,000. We've got the Democrat Party is making every move they're making is designed to grow government, make government bigger. And you don't seem alarmed. Folks, panic is I don't know. I'm not panicked. I am ticked off like you cannot believe, and I am really having a conversation with myself about how far to go in explaining why I'm mad, because I'm mad about the politics of this. For example, let me give you some how many of you even remember the swine flu, 2009, 2010? I don't remember it. I mean, I remember we had it, but I don't remember any panic about it. I don't remember a thing about the swine flu. So when I found out the stats, I went back and looked at the stats, and I was stunned. Are you ready for this? The swine flu outbreak in this country in 2009 and 2010. 60 million Americans were infected. Do you remember that? 60 million were infected. You know, I saw Dr. Siegel, one of the Fox doctors, was on TV explaining this last night. He's not my primary source for it, but he ended up confirming it. 60 million people were infected. Do you know how many people were hospitalized in 2009, 2010 with the swine flu? 300,000 were hospitalized. So 60 million people infected, 300,000 hospitalized, and nobody even remembers it. And why? Well, because we had a different president. We had a Democrat president by the name of Barack Obama, and the news then was how wonderfully well Obama was handling it. How expertly well Obama was dealing with it. There wasn't any media panic. The Republican Party did not politicize it at all. They made not one single effort that anybody can find or remember to try to make political hay out of it. It was treated as a health issue from top to bottom. 60 million Americans infected, 300,000 hospitalized. I don't know what the death toll was. Compare that. The numbers with the coronavirus are not even close. They are barely a fraction of a percentage compared to the swine flu. And we also had Ebola. And I do remember a little bit more about Ebola. And once again, the drive-by media was praising the skills and the composure and the brilliance of Barack Obama in dealing with it. And I remember being kind of ticked off about that because there wasn't anything anybody can do about Ebola. Ebola is like any of these other viruses. There's nothing we can do to contain them. See, the reason I'm not panicked is I don't have enough emotion left for panic because I'm too mad. I'm too ticked off at this. We're watching the U.S. economy be wrecked here. And there's some people enjoying it, and it makes me mad. There's some people's lives here that are being seriously damaged over this. And you know what's going to happen? It's going to end. We are going to overcome it. It's going to fizzle out like all of these do. How did we ever survive 60 million infected with the swine flu? But we did, to the point that hardly anybody remembers it. And that's just 10 years ago. 300,000 hospitalized. So we overcame it. We overcame it. This is going to end. It's going to pass. And I'll tell you what else is going to happen. Because of the actions President Trump has taken, like this travel ban from Europe, that has really put the Democrats in a dicey position. There's some real positives if you want to find them here, and I, of course, have, and I'll share them with you here in a minute. The point is, we're going to rebound from this, and when we do, you had better get ready and hold on tight, because this market's going to rebound. The people who are selling right now and getting out of it are panicking, and they don't want to be selling. Everybody's doing this from a very defensive posture and point of view, and it's adding, like, when we get news that Tom Hanks and his wife have coronavirus, oh, no, it's all going, it's over. And then his kid Chet goes on TV, tries to calm everybody down. They're fine. They're in Australia. They're fine. They're not suffering at all. Everything's fine. Doesn't matter. They've got it. Anyway, this is going to end, and this market is going to rebound like you can't believe, because the people who have been selling off want to get back in it. And we are taking economic procedures right now that are going to serve to further reignite the economy when all this passes and when we get back into the growth trajectory. Some of the proposals the president's making regarding payroll taxes, Small Business Administration loans, even a tax holiday. You just wait until people have no more emotion left to be panicked and get tired of this and want to go a different direction. And that day is going to happen. The day is going to come where people are going to wake up. I'm tired of living this way. I'm fed up with being panicked every day. I'm fed up. And then, because of the actions the president's taken, we're not going to have that many brand new infections. By shutting off this travel from Europe, as I said, this has really put the Democrats in a bad position because they love the European Union. They love it. And the very fact that travel from their beloved European Union has been shut down. But if they come out and oppose this, then they're essentially coming out for open borders. This is actually, if you want to look at it politically, it's a good move from that standpoint. But I'm not panicking because I'm too mad about this. This is, I don't know. It's. I know some of you were saying, Rush, easy for you to say. It isn't easy for me to say, folks. Nobody's immune from what's happening here. And it just, I mean, you go back and you look at these swine flu numbers and you ask, okay, what was different? What was different was we had a Democrat in the White House, and so the media didn't want to be critical of the government. The media wanted to be promoting. They wanted to be positive. They wanted to promote the brilliance of Barack Obama. The brilliant management skills, the temperament, the crease in his slacks, the intelligence and all that. Now we've got just the exact opposite. You know what we're going through now? I watched last night. We're having a replay of George W. Bush being in the White House. You know what the Democrat criticism is? This guy, Trump, is too stupid. He doesn't have the sophistication to handle the complexity of a situation like this. He doesn't inspire confidence. You see President Trump's speech today, he's an idiot. He's dumb. He's stupid. You can hear him breathing. He was nervous. He's not inspiring confidence. I get so sick and tired of this. I get so sick and tired of the left and the media telling us that every one of our politicians is a dumb, stupid idiot. Every one of theirs is a brilliant genius, when theirs are the ones that created the problems that Trump has had to get us out of. And there's not a one of these critics that could live in Donald Trump's shoes for a week and accomplish anywhere near what he has accomplished. Sniveling little commentators on MSNBC. He doesn't care about us. He doesn't care. He cares more about you than your precious Obama ever cared about you. He cares more about you and the people of this country than any president we've had in I don't know how many years. Because he cares about the country. He cares about American greatness. He cares about restoring American greatness. He cares about restoring your future. What do you mean he doesn't care about you? What's he supposed to do? Come to your house and hold your hand? He doesn't care about us. Here, grab the audio soundbite. I asked Cookie to go find this. It's a little montage. And Fox News was playing this montage last night. I don't think I'm sitting around watching MSNBC all night because I can't take it. So I saw this. I was watching Hannity last night. He played this little montage, and Laura Ingraham played this montage. I got so ticked off, I almost called both of them last night. Hannity and Ingraham. I almost said, you need to let me on for 5 minutes to straighten this out. I, of course, didn't do it. Because I said, no, I'll wait till my own show tomorrow for people to find out what I think, which you're now, of course, benefiting from. So here we have somebody named Basil Smikle. Basil Smikle, the former New York State Democrat Party chairman. We have a comedian named Pete Dominick. We have an info babe from NBC named Katie Tour, and we have John Podhoretz, who writes columns for the New York Post. He's an editor at Commentary. He was Bill Kristol's partner at the Weekly Standard. Did all those successful magazine issues. Remember all those cruises? Inviting conservatives to come along after every election defeat to find out why it's not so bad. Now these guys are all in on the Democrat Party and selecting and voting for Joe Biden. So here, this only takes about 20. Oh, and Howard Dean's part of this montage as well. Here we go, 25 seconds. Hit it.
You just don't get the sense that this president understands or even cares about managing the complexity of something.
He does not care about us.
It's exposing a real lack of leadership on a federal level.
We don't really have confidence that he, even after 3 years as president, even grasps that element of the job.
We're crippled by now having exactly no leadership at the top whatsoever.
I think all these yokels were making their comments before the president's Oval Office address last night. But it doesn't matter. They probably would have said the same thing afterward. But this idea, we don't really have confidence that he, even after 3 years as president, grasps that element of the job. That's no different than Peter Jennings. You know, after Bush was, after 9/11, they found Bush reading to 4-year-olds in a school in Florida and had to go get him and tell him what happened. And Peter Jennings, well, you know, some presidents are better at this than others, meaning comforting the American people. It was a slap at Bush, and it was a pat on the back to Bill Clinton. It's the same old, same old. Yeah, these Republicans, they don't care. They don't care about you. They have no compassion. They have no heart. And to boot, they're idiots. They can't talk. They can't reason. They can't explain. And it's so sad because they're so thick that they can't understand the complexity of it. Meanwhile, not a one of these people has ever accomplished 5% of what Donald Trump has. Not a one of them could do Donald Trump's job, given what he faces opposition-wise. They wouldn't last a day putting up with what Donald Trump has to put up with. They haven't accomplished in their lives anything close to what Donald Trump has. And yet here we have to sit here and listen to the fact that they don't think Trump understands the complexities of the job. And whereas, of course, Obama and any other Democrat would. Anybody, these clowns that tell us who's smart, the elites, the brilliant people, they're the ones that got us in this mess in the first place. They're the ones that don't understand market economies, don't believe in market economies. They're the ones that put everything in front of America because America doesn't deserve to be a superpower. America has a price to pay for stealing so much around the world. I get so sick and impatient. So I don't have room for panic here, folks. I don't have emotional room. I don't have emotional time for panic. Also not panicking because it's gonna end. All this stuff does. If one thing my life has taught me is that there are cycles, up, down, good, bad. And I don't care what anybody says. There is no better time to be alive as a human being on planet Earth than March 12th, 2020 and going forward. And there's no better place to be alive on planet Earth than the United States of America on March 12th, 2020. And this is all going to end. And it's going to end when somebody finally wakes up and realizes it's nowhere near as bad, and it's not going to get as bad as everybody is afraid that it might be, as some people want it to be. And then we're going to move forward, and this economy is going to rebound. The stock market's going to rebound. It's going to shock everybody. And it's probably going to happen way before the November elections, which is going to really disappoint the media and really disappoint the Democrat Party. Got to take a break. Just saw the clock. Back here in just a second. Have you noticed, ladies and gentlemen, the same people saying, like these sniveling little brats on MSNBC, the government isn't handling the virus outbreak well. Trump doesn't care about us. The government isn't doing the right. The same people that say we need the government to run health care. We need the government to run health care. The government can't handle the outbreak of the virus very well. We're not very satisfied with the way the government's handling it. It's not good. And then they, of course, say, well, Trump running the government doesn't know what he's doing. That's what's wrong. Absolute crock. I'm just going to tell you, far more is going to be done to boost this economy way beyond what Trump announced last night. You haven't the slightest idea when the time is right. Well, why couldn't you do things to boost the economy? I'll tell you why, because the drive-by media is going to sit there, and if Trump tries to boost the economy too much right now, they're going to say he doesn't care about you. He only cares about himself and his Wall Street buddies. Wall Street's all a bunch of Democrats now anyway. But after the aftershocks of this are felt, I wouldn't be surprised if Trump responds with economic stimulus like you can't believe, and it's going to put the Democrats in a dire position of whether they support it or not. Anyway, hang on. Another quick break. Back in a second. On another matter, the Democrats are trying to shut down their campaign. We had this yesterday. They're trying to just basically make Bernie Sanders concede because of the coronavirus. It's over. Well, we can't do any more debates. We can't bring the public in. We can't even have NBA games. We have to cancel the Masters. We have to cancel all kinds of stuff because of the coronavirus. We're going to cancel the Major League Baseball season. If we're going to cancel the NBA season, how are we going to have baseball games? Then we got to cancel the NFL preseason. And we're going to have to cancel the NFL and a Hall of Fame. We're going to have to cancel everything because of the coronavirus. Meanwhile, don't forget, as I'm sure everybody has, swine flu outbreak, 2009, 2010, right here, United States of America, 60 million Americans infected. Do you remember any talk about running out of hospital beds? Were we going to run out of IV saline solution? Were we going to run out of masks? 60 million Americans affected with the swine flu. Think pigs running everywhere if you have to. However you have to visualize this. 300,000 hospitalized. We're nowhere near 300,000 hospitalized with the coronavirus. I mean, we're not even close to it. In fact, worldwide, we don't even have 300,000 cases. Worldwide of the swine flu. 300,000 hospitalized in the United States alone. You don't even remember it. You know why? Because Barack Obama was president and he was God, and we couldn't be critical. We had to build him up and promote him like nothing else we've ever seen before. The media wasn't critical at all. The media was praising the efforts of the government to deal with the swine flu. This the one difference of the freaking media. And you don't even remember something 10 times as worse as what is happening now. There weren't any travel bans. Hell, you know what? You could still get barbecue wherever you wanted it. Kansas City, Missouri didn't shut down because of the swine flu. It's a big barbecue town. All because the media and the Democrats were interested in making Obama look good. And, of course, the Republicans back then didn't politicize it. It was a health issue. So if you've got kids or if you've got people panic and worried about, oh, my God, I don't know what I do, what am I doing? Just give them the numbers. Swine flu 2009, 2010, 60 million Americans infected, 300,000 hospitalized, and you don't even remember it. And I guarantee you, 9 out of 10 people you tell this, I don't remember that. Exactly. Ask them why they don't remember it. Well, I don't know, but I don't remember. Yeah, you don't remember it for one reason. Nobody made any big news about it. Well, why not? Well, answer that yourself. Say, who was president then? I don't know, Millard Fillmore? No, Barack Obama. Oh. You can look on the bright side. On the bright side here, the coronavirus bright side, people are starting to now see that borders are our friends if they are enforced. And people are starting to realize that the Chicoms ought not be making our medicine. And there's another thing, as the schools close, Harvard is closed, Yale is closed, all these schools are shutting down. Guess what? Hello, homeschooling. That's a positive, or it can be. Anyway, I was going to say the Democrats are trying to shut down their campaign. And the reason they're trying to shut it down is because they know that Biden can't last more than 10 minutes in public. They can't last more than 10 minutes on a stage, can't last more than 10 minutes in a debate. So Clyburn and Carville and the rest of them are trying to pick up this refrain. It's time to shut down the Democrat campaign. It's over. Crazy Bernie can't win. He can't get enough delegates. We just need, because of the coronavirus, we need to shut down the democratic process. How about that? Try this. February 12th, 2010. Archives, Reuters News. Swine flu has killed up to 17,000 in the United States. February 12th, 2010. H1N1 swine flu has killed as many as 17,000 Americans, including 1,800 children. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reported on Friday the swine flu pandemic put as many people in the hospital as during the normal influenza season, but most were younger adults and children instead of the elderly. And it was during the months when usually very little or no flu is circulating, the CDC said. CDC estimates that between 41 million and 84 million cases of the 2009 swine flu occurred between April 2009 and January 16th, 2010. So it's maybe more than 60 million, 84 million cases of swine flu. CDC said in a statement, but between 880 and 1,800 children died, up to 13,000 adults under the age of 65, and only 1,000 to 2,000 elderly died. So the swine flu got the young. 84 million cases, 1,800 children dead, 300,000 total infected, 13,000 adults. That's a February 12, 2010 archives at Reuters. 17,000 Americans dead. We don't have 17,000 people dead worldwide from the coronavirus, folks. And you know what the recovery rate for the coronavirus is, according to the Johns Hopkins University website? Johns Hopkins University website shows that the recovery rate is, well, I haven't run the numbers on a percentage, like 65%. I mean, it'd be easy to calculate if I had the numbers in front of me. If you've got 120,000 cases, and we did it one time, and 75,000 recoveries, then what are we talking about? Now, what are we going to do when Tom Hanks and his wife recover? Will that end the panic? Well, in our pop culture society, you never know. It might. It might. Maybe Kim Kardashian and Kanye West need to get the swine flu or the coronavirus and get cured a week later. I know. Maybe Meghan Markle and Prince Harry need to get it and then announce they were cured 10 days later, and that would end it. Anyway, back to the Democrat. Joe Biden desperate, the Democrats desperate to end this campaign because there's a debate Sunday night. There is a debate Sunday night between Crazy Bernie and Biden, and the Democrats are already saying, well, we're not going to let people in. I mean, we can't. But CNN's supposed to televise the thing. You think CNN wants to give up the debate? So I don't know they're going to be able to cancel this Sunday night debate. Bernie's going to show up, and if Bernie shows up, CNN's cameras will be there. I have audio of the president this afternoon in the Oval Office. I've got that. Plus, I've got your phone calls that you're just itching and dying to be part of the program today. So take another brief obscene profit break and continue right after this. So I saw somebody on TV last night. I don't know who it was. So why with the common flu killing so many more people than the coronavirus, why is there this kind of panic about the? Oh, I remember who it was. It was Senator Graham. Lindsey Graham said, well, the coronavirus is kind of like a plane crash, and the regular flu is like a car crash. And what he meant was when a plane goes down, even though it's far fewer people killed, oh, my God, an airplane went, oh, my God, a horrible airplane crash. What went wrong? But when a car crashes, that's 50,000 times a year, any big deal. Well, folks, I don't know about that. I'm here to tell you that if we had the same kind of media panic and Democrat Party political panic over the swine flu in 2009, 2010, how in the what is the difference? The swine flu is just as bad as worse. The swine flu is worse than corona. I'll tell you something else that happened yesterday. We had the story here. This guy Fauci went out there and said that the coronavirus is 10 times more lethal than the flu. Well, that led to story after story after story with that headline. Anthony Fauci says Trump doesn't know what he's talking about. The coronavirus 10 times more lethal than the flu. No, the story is that with the coronavirus 10 times more lethal than the flu, the fatality rate of the coronavirus is much less than everybody thought. The fatality rate for the flu is 0.1%. Fauci said the fatality rate for the coronavirus is 1%. It isn't 6%. It's not 3% like they thought. It isn't between 3 and 6%. It's 1%. So that is 10 times the fatality rate of the flu. If the flu is 0.1%, 1/10 of 1%, and the coronavirus is 1%, well, yeah, then you could say it's 10 times more lethal. But the wrong context. They've been telling us that the fatality rate's going to be between 3 and 6%. And what Fauci admitted is that the fatality rate for coronavirus is way lower than we thought, which should have been the story. But no, the story was that the coronavirus is 10 times more lethal than well, nobody cares about the flu anyway, by definition. 30,000 people a year die from it. Nobody cares. We don't do travel bans. We don't worry about what happens in the hospital. If you get the flu, you get the flu. Nice knowing you. Well, what you disagree with me on this? The flu isn't any big deal. Point is, our society has come to accept the flu, and if 30,000 people die from it, it doesn't make the news. What, do you all think I'm stepping in it in there or not? Screw the soundbite. I don't care what soundbite they use. The fact of the matter, nothing I'm saying here is deniable. Our society has come to accept 30,000 flu deaths a year as part of life. Or part of the human existence. If you get the flu and you die, hey, you know, the statistics grab you, too bad. Nice knowing you, all of that. Swine flu, it's even worse than that. And we didn't bring everything to a screeching halt. Folks, if you think this is not political, then you still believe the Steele dossier is true. If you think this is not political, then you still think that Trump stole the election in 2016 with the Russians. If you think this isn't political, then you still believe that Trump committed impeachable offense in a perfect phone call with the lackey president of Ukraine. All right, now I'm going to get started on the phones. How about that for sound bites, Dawn? Here we go. This is John in Scotch Plains, New Jersey. Hey, great to have you on the program, sir. Hello.
Hi, Rush. Great speaking to you. Been a long-time listener from the beginning.
Thank you, sir.
Want to just make the point that I'm finding it is that there's an uncanny parallel between the reaction, societal reaction of what's going on now with the coronavirus to the reaction to climate change. It's just amazing the parallels that I can see between how we're supposed to believe that both are existential threats and that how both are going to completely, if we let it play out the way some people wanted to play out, going to disrupt so many major elements of our economy based on faith, basically, and that there's a little dabble of science. You know, I'm not going to deny that, you know, climate is very variable, and we've been through so many worse as a planet, through so many worse situations or conditions than we are today. Just like with your example of the swine flu, we went through a much worse period with the swine flu than potentially we're going through right now with the coronavirus. But we're supposed to believe it's an existential threat, and we're just canceling everything. Well,
actually, your analogy to the climate change thing may be valid in one profound way. And that is, both with climate change and now with the coronavirus, what is there a damn gigantic demand for? Bigger government to take over and do something to fix it, to save the planet, to save the species, to save this or that other thing. And, of course, they're waiting in the wings to take their cues for bigger government. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck U. Schumer, and the rest of the drive-by media. And so that analogy does have some weight to it. I'm glad you called. Where are we going next? I want to squeeze one more before the end of the hour. That would be Craig in Dexter, Missouri, which is not far from where I grew up in Cape Girardeau. Great to have you, Craig. Hello, sir.
Yes, sir. Hi, Rush. Hey, Rush, I know you just mentioned about the 30,000 deaths. I think what everybody seems to be missing is there's no flu tied to the end of the corona. It's not the corona flu. It's COVID-19. I remember when the swine flu hit, you called it the pig flu. And when the bird flu hit, it was the bird flu. Nobody's calling this the flu. They're calling it like some kind of weird disease that once you get it, it's over.
So you're saying that the terminology here is going a long way to creating the panic.
Yes, sir. Nobody's calling it the flu.
We could make a movie out of this called The Andromeda Strain 2. And,
Right.
and say that the COVID virus came from a failed Chinese effort to orbit Mars. Beating Elon
just
Musk
seems
to
like-
the yeah. Well, okay. So if this just had the word flu in it, then no big deal. Why, it's the corona flu. It's the Chinese flu. We could call it the bat flu. We could call it the snake flu because that's where it came from. Well, it's an interesting point, but it does go to the idea of terminology, because obviously our society is perfectly fine with 30,000 people dying from the flu every year. Well, when I say perfectly, you know what I mean. We've accepted that that happens. The flu happens to kill 30,000. The wheel kills 50,000. But COVID-19, the coronavirus from China by way of Europe. Yeah, it's got this mystique to it. Glad you called. Back in a second. All right, let me do it this way then. Hey, folks, how many of you know the total number of deaths in the United States to date from coronavirus? When's the last death you saw reported? Well, look at this. The market's coming back after just 1 hour of this program. It was down over 2,000, now down over only 900. So we brought the market back in 1 hour of this program, 1,100 points. The way I figured, we ought to be in the green by the end of this program today. Well, if I did a fourth hour, I might be able to get it into really dark green territory. Who knows? It's about time. Greetings, my friends. Great to have you back. Here we are, the second hour. Broadcast excellence, the fastest 3 hours in media. The Rush Limbaugh program. Our telephone number, if you want to join us, is 800-282-2882. The email address, lrushbo@eibnet.us. Just got some photographs in from the office of the vice president. He was here. When was it? Last week? He was. It was Friday. Was it a week ago? Last Friday? A week ago tomorrow that he was here. Whatever it was recent, the last 10 days or so, and they took some great pictures in here. Normally, the pictures, they could go iffy. But we got them today, and I've had a chance to digitize a couple of them and send them up to rushlimbaugh.com. Coco has them up there. And it was 28th of Friday. So it was 2 weeks ago, yeah, basically. So, because there's a leap year in there, leap day, 29th. So, if you haven't yet been to rushlimbaugh.com, you'll see those pictures. There's one of Catherine and me and the vice president, and then one I just sent up of the vice president and me actually during the program. We don't have very many in-studio guests here, but when we do, there's no better looking studio in American media than this one, and you will see in the photo that I just sent up to Coco. Look at that. Now it's down only 748 points. When we started this program, the market was down over 2,200 and they had suspended trading. 1 hour of this program with just some common sense, with just some reason, with just some mild, upbeat, no need to panic attitude and information. So I'm happy to see that. Now there are other things still related to this that we didn't get into in the first hour, and Trump banning travel from Europe. Democrats not happy about this, folks. They do not like their precious travel from their precious European Union, even for a day. Some people have asked, what did you think of the president's speech last night? You didn't say. I thought he gave the right speech at the right time. Look, I know some people get frustrated. My gosh, couldn't they do something with the sound? You could hear the president breathing. You can hear him breathing whenever he speaks. It's part of his speech pattern. I've grown accustomed to it. Maybe some sound people could do something to limit it by turning down the compression. But look, he did what he had to do. He was purposely dour because that's what the media and the Democrats are demanding. He read from the prompter. That's what they think is presidential. I've had a lot of people say, that's not Trump's best format. He should just launch. Yeah, right, but understand what this was last night. This wasn't a Trump rally. This was a presidential address from the Oval Office. And, of course, these lame brains on the left have this idea of what is presidential and what isn't. And reading a teleprompter, which takes hardly any skill whatsoever, is considered presidential. So he read the teleprompter, he stuck to the script, he was dour, he was serious. As far as these people are concerned, that's how you define presidential in their stupid, boring world. So he did what he had to do. Politically, it was wise. I mean, I cannot tell you how much the left in this country hates the idea of shutting down travel from their beloved European Union. But because Trump did it, now they're going to have to go on record either opposing the travel ban or supporting it. And if they oppose the travel ban, it's going to be lethal for them. They may as well come out and proclaim that they're for open borders, which we all know that they are. In any case, these shutdowns may clamp down the virus and the hysteria, because I guarantee you, I asked you before the break, can anybody tell me the number of coronavirus deaths in the United States? You looked it up, did you? You had to look it up because you didn't know off the top of your head. The one thing missing in all of this panic-driven coronavirus news is what? The number of deaths in the United States. Why, we get stories, my God, a player in the NBA actually touched a microphone to the media person. The NBA's canceling the season. Oh, my God. Tom Hanks and his wife in Australia filming an Elvis movie. They've got the coronavirus. Are we going to have to stop going to movies? Can it spread from the screen to the audience? Oh, my God. Is it that bad? In all of this panicked reporting, what's the one thing missing? The death toll. You don't hear about the death toll, do you? Do you know what the total is? I'm not going to tell you. I'll tell you this. About 60% of the death toll has happened in one place. And I don't mean one city. I mean in one place in one city. Now, you would think with a panic of this kind, with this magnitude, that the central reporting figure would be the number of people dying. And yet, well, that's not part of the reporting at all. Yet go back, the swine flu, 18,000 people dead, 360 million infected, 300,000 hospitalized. 2009, 2000. You know, another reason why that didn't make any big news is because that's when Obama was selling Obamacare. And, of course, the swine flu helped push the notion for government-run health care. So the swine flu coming along when it did in 2009, 2010, the media glommed right onto it and used that to promote Obamacare. There was no way Obama was going to be ripped or criticized for presiding over a runaway, mad period of swine flu infection and death. No way. You still don't know the death toll? You can't find. I bet you, folks, you're going to have a tough time finding it. How long did it take you to find a death toll, Snerdley, and where did you find it? Less than a minute, but okay. What did you go to a specific website, or did you do a Google search coronavirus death toll, and what site did it take you to? You even forgot what the website was. All right. Okay, well, I'll tell you what number he found in his site search. 39, did you say? 39. Do you know that 26 of those deaths have occurred in a nursing home in Seattle, Washington State? So you take the 26 deaths out of the equation from the nursing home in Washington State, and how many deaths are we talking about? And yet we're reacting this way. We're wrecking the United States economy. We are literally destroying the stock market. We're telling people not to go to work. We're telling people not to congregate with people. We're shutting down the freaking NBA season, which big deal. But now Major League Baseball is getting ready to kick off. Oh, what are they going to do about March Madness, Mr. Stern? What are they going to do about the NCAA? And what are they going to do upcoming is the first major of the PGA season. That would be the Masters. Can you imagine the Masters without the patrons? Can you imagine the Masters without the gallery? Would they do it? In fact, I would say golfers might actually like it with no fans in there. No noise, no distraction. But I could be wrong about that. Anyway, folks, and in the midst of all this, you get to turn on TV and listen to how incompetent the president is and how incapable he is of dealing with such complex situations. So what are we talking about? Anthony Fauci of the National Institutes for Health has been all over television telling anybody who would listen. The most important thing that happened here was Trump limiting and banning travel from China in January. Fauci is saying if that hadn't happened, it'd be much worse in America than it is. Are they ignoring him? Yes. They're focusing on other things, Fauci is saying, but they're ignoring that. Anyway, Trump doing all of the stuff that these little chihuahuas were ankle biting him to do, they now either have to oppose it as unnecessary or say that travel bans were too late, which they can't do given their open borders creed. So Trump's kind of playing it, I think, brilliantly on the political front. You might not have liked the way he sounded. You might not have liked the way he looked. But what he did and what he said in that Oval Office address last night has presented several dilemmas for the Democrats. He stayed on script. He was dour, which means they can't find much to smear him with because he stayed on script and he was presidential. I don't like all these shutdowns. I think this is so overblown, but remember, this is political. Everybody, no, Russia's not political. It's a health issue. Yeah, I wish it were. If it were being treated as a health issue strictly, it'd be one thing, but it is political. And so in that context, it was the wise thing to do. And maybe in 3 to 4 weeks, it'll stop the new case increases that are fueling the panic, because it's not the death toll that's fueling the panic. It's something else. Isn't that amazing, by the way, folks? The death toll is not part of any of the reporting. Isn't that fascinating to you, or is that something that only fascinates me? Let's go back to the phones. Sacramento, my adopted hometown. This is Matthew. Great to have you on the EIB network. Hello, sir.
Hey, Rush. The only thing that's infectious is your passion to push against this madness. We know that the number one battlefield is out of the mind, and we cannot afford to cede any more rational, common sense ground to the madness of the left. So with that said, what I want to bring is some on-the-ground, real-time info here in Sacramento, Nuttyfornia. So I was just in a pediatric pulmonologist's office a few days ago with my daughter, and, the nurses are not worried. They're basically rolling their eyes. I'm asking them about coronavirus. I even asked the doctor what she thought. She said, listen, we've been dealing with coronavirus for decades. You can go back and see that it can be traced back to 4000 BC. So it's nothing new. They're not concerned. They know how to treat common cold and flu and viruses and things of that nature. And so it's impossible not to see the political angle. It's impossible not to see the attack upon the mind. We know that when someone is in a state of fear, they do irrational things and they can be manipulated like no other, especially, for instance, parents who try to make medical decisions based on fear. It's the worst possible position to be in. And so I'm just trying to bring some reason, much like you are, there's that it's not that bad. We know how to deal with these things. So, I could go on.
No, I get it. We do deal with these things. We're the United States of America. There's no better place to be in the world any day of the week than the U.S., including today, including right now. There's no better place in the world to be for whatever reason you want to be someplace. And everybody has to be somewhere. And the United States is not a bad place to be. I also want to thank you. The way you started off this phone call is worthy of making a promo out of. He said the only thing that is infectious today is your passion opposing the madness of this. I appreciate compliments like that. And he said that's worthy of a promo. We should roll that off. The only thing infectious today is your passion opposing the madness. By the way, he's right. Folks, you may not know this or not, but I've had occasion recently to be in the company of a whole bunch of doctors. It may surprise you. You don't know about, time goes by, but my treatment for cancer was delayed a week. I didn't tell anybody this because I caught the flu. And a doctor put me in the hospital immediately when he saw a fever of 103. This is just 4 weeks or 5 weeks ago now. I was in the hospital for 2 days. I got over it fast. They flooded me with fluids. I spent the whole time talking about coronavirus. They poo-pooed it. Even if it were, we could deal with it. It's not nearly what you've got here, this strain of flu. We got to get a handle on this far more than if you had the coronavirus. The coronavirus is something I have been dealing with doctors more so in the last 2 months than I have combined in my life. And every time I meet with doctors, I ask about the coronavirus, and I haven't found one yet that, just like Matthew said here, it's out there, they're dealing with it, but I haven't found anybody reacting in panic. Coronavirus? You said coronavirus? Let me go get my mask. That hasn't happened. They put a mask on me when I had the flu, and everybody in the hospital wears hazmat suits, but the nurses and all that. But literally, I've been asking doctors, nurses about it, and I can't get a rise out of anybody about it. And not just here in Florida. I have doctors everywhere, and not everywhere, but in a wide geographical swath. So Matthew's right. His anecdotal story, I can back it up. He's taken his daughter to the hospital or to doctor's offices in Sacramento. What about coronavirus? Nothing to sweat. It's entirely. I'll tell you, you watch the media, and then go talk to medical professionals. You're going to get two totally different takes. If you want some sanity, turn the media off. Turn off television for 2 days. I'm not kidding you. Do not watch the news for 2 days. Your attitude, and this works any 2 days of the year anyway, but particularly during intense, media stories like this. Well, lo and behold, they have. The Democrats have come out officially opposing Trump's travel ban. By the way, don't you like the fact that Trump did not include the UK because they're getting out of the European Union? Brexit, don't you know? So Democrats oppose travel ban. A no ban act has been introduced by Representative Judy Chu, Democrat, California, co-sponsored by 219 House Democrats. The bill will roll back all of Trump's travel restrictions, and it'll require that Trump only issue a restriction when required to address a compelling government interest. So the Democrats have done it. They have actually come out, introduced legislation to undo Trump's travel ban, which is designed. You think this isn't political? Trump's travel ban is designed to keep European cases from finding their way into the United States. He's trying to protect the American people. I told you the Democrats can't stand any ban of their travel from their beloved European Union and so forth. Anyway, I got to take another brief time out as time races on. Back in a second. Greetings, welcome back. What is this? Plugs is doing some kind of press conference today right now? And my campaign is reimagining the format for large crowd events. His campaign is reimagining the format for large crowd. Do you notice how all of this seems to be benefiting the Democrats? Practically all of this is benefiting the Democrats. Like plugs, everybody's saying, hey, we need to shut down the Democrat primary. Coronavirus. We can't have crowds. We can't do debates. And it's over for Bernie anyway. He may as well pack it up and go home. We may as well just declare Biden the winner and move on. And then the Democrats get to continually harp on Trump for the same things they've been harping on him about since before he was elected. He's incompetent. He's a boob. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's too stupid to understand how to deal with complex situations. Now, plugs out there say, we will lead by science. That's how we will end the Democrat primary before it's actually over. We're going to deny others in the primary the right to vote because it doesn't matter how they vote anyway because of the coronavirus. Seems like pretty much every new avenue of this story can be massaged in ways to benefit the Democrat Party. The economy going south, the stock market crashing, Trump not being able to stop it, Trump may be causing it, all of it happening in an election year. Why, who could have ever imagined? Let's see what's back happening on the phones. Maple Grove, Minnesota. Brian, you're next. It's great to have you here. Hello, sir.
Thank you, sir. Megaditto's longtime listener, first-time caller. So I used to be a bond trader and clerk in Chicago, and immediately following 9/11, we closed the markets to stop the perceived panic sell-off that was going to occur. Why not implement that now? Give the markets a few days, digest the news. I mean, with the black box computer trading that we have in place now, downward moves are highly exacerbated, and it's why we see the markets down 2,000 at a time. A pause would be a welcome relief, I think, especially for those who don't know how to deal with this volatility that we have.
Well, it's a good point. Why aren't we doing that, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know that it was brought up. You know, Gutfeld kind of mentioned it yesterday on the 5 as a passing joke, and it's like, wait, that would be a great, thing to do right now in the markets, I think. I mean,
Well, now, wait a minute. No. Let me ask it a different way. Who is benefiting from the market plummeting like this?
Oh, absolutely, the Democrats. Oh, absolutely. I mean, this drives their narrative. It's, he can't run on the economy. I mean, look at how Barack Obama is silent now. It's not his economy anymore.
Good point. Good point. Obama doesn't want any credit for this one. I happened to mention some time ago, and I don't know how recently, but somebody remembered that I said this and reminded me of it earlier this week. That is, I happen to know a few fairly high-ranking Democrat business people, management people, CFOs, and so forth, who wouldn't mind taking a financial hit if it meant getting rid of Trump. And I need to remind you again, probably don't need to remind you actually, of the venomous animosity that still exists for Trump simply because he won. The reasons that are itinerant to it, such as jealousy and envy, and, I can't believe it happened. This guy's not from our club. This guy's not one of us. There's any number of attitudes to explain it, but there are, do not doubt me, there are some, not going to name the names, don't want to go that far, but who wouldn't mind taking a hit? Well, what about their shareholders? Well, what are the shareholders going to do about it? As long as they can blame it on something else, as long as, in fact, if they can blame it on Trump instead of them, and if all they have to do is go out and act disappointed that it's happening, when in fact they're not. My only point, there's far more going on here than you can possibly see. And there's no way you would see it if you're not already oriented towards seeing and thinking things in a political sense or political way. Plugs is out there doing a press conference right now. He's trying to look like he is president. He said, travel bans, that's not what travel bans aren't going to help anybody. We need scientists and engineers. We need people running government who know who the smartest people are. We need to finally get somebody in there who can find the smartest people we have and put them in charge. In other words, we don't have a prayer as long as Trump and his doctors are running the show. We don't have a prayer as long as Trump and his CDC is running the show. You need somebody like me, Plugs Biden. I'll put the smartest doctors and engineers in the world where travel bans aren't going to do anything. And they're also harping on test kits. In fact, grab soundbite number 31. Dr. Anthony Fauci was on Capitol Hill today, House Oversight Reform Committee hearing on the government's response to the coronavirus outbreak. And Debbie Blabbermouth Schultz said to Dr. Fauci, is there no one specifically in charge that we can count on to make sure these tests can be administered to healthcare workers or anybody else who needs to be tested?
The system is not really geared to what we need right now, what you are asking for. That is a failing.
Yes.
It is a failing. I mean, let's admit it. The fact is, the way the system was set up was a system where you put it out there in the public and a physician asks for it and you get it. The idea of anybody getting it easily, the way people in other countries are doing it, we're not set up for that. Do I think we should be? Yes, but we're not.
Okay, so this, I just want to warn you, this soundbite that I just played for you is going to be the lead news story the rest of the day. What Fauci is saying is, we need testing. We don't have testing. I don't know why we don't have testing, but we know we're not doing it the right way. We're not set up like other countries are, and it's a failing. Now, keep in mind, this guy's been the National Institute of Health for decades. But all of a sudden, it's going to be Donald Trump's fault that our bureaucracy doesn't have testing kits here, testing kits there. Did nobody tell Trump on January 21st, 2017, by the way, Mr. President, with everything else on your plate, we don't have testing for the coronavirus that the Chinese are going to release in 2020? And Trump would have said, what do you mean the Chinese are going to release a virus in 2020? Well, that's right. And we don't have anything, we don't have any way to test. My point is that would not have been on the front page of a list of items requiring immediate attention of a new president. There's all kinds of... And besides, the answer to all this, you mean Obama failed to staff up the CDC? Obama failed to come up with proper testing techniques at the National Institutes for Health? What does Obama have to do? Well, what does Trump have to do with it? Mr. Obama was the perfect president. He had the perfect crease in his slacks. He was ideal, right? He was one of the guys everybody approved of. And now here's Fauci running around. Yeah, well, we don't have the right kind of testing kits, and we don't have enough testing kits. And so Plugs is focusing on that right now. And, of course, he's saying a vaccine should be free of charge when it's available. Of course, everything should be free. Nobody should make any money doing anything. Except Joe Biden's kid working for Burisma in Ukraine and China.
Rush Limbaugh.
Welcome back, Rush Limbaugh. Executing assigned host duties flawlessly. Zero mistakes. Victor Davis Hanson today with a piece at the townhall.com. The great coronavirus war is upon us. He's taken a very interesting approach here, as has Mr. Hanson. He frames his piece, his column, as a war against a clever enemy. So imagine the coronavirus as an active, clever enemy of the United States. And when you think about it like that, think about it that way, the fact that the left is not on board to work together to fight this enemy in every way possible can really open your eyes and make you get sick to your stomach. Here's a pull quote from Mr. Hanson's piece. It is a vengeful enemy. It knows that we have killed off or rendered impotent most of its fellow viruses. Its cousin, the flu, has not since 1918 translated its annual tactical wins into a strategic pandemic victory. Viruses and anti-human microbes have not had a major win in America in decades, perhaps not since polio used to terrorize, cripple, and kill thousands of Americans every year. COVID-19 believes our progress, confidence, and sophistication are not our strength, but rather our greatest weakness, as our vanity and assumed invulnerability render us ripe for panic. The battle is upon us. But if we can stay calm and rational, we can easily defeat this enemy, whose reputation is likely far scarier than its reality. It's an interesting way to look at it. Imagine as the coronavirus is having its own army, and it does, but its own tactical, strategic generals, and that it's very upset that its cousins, other viruses, have failed to wipe out the United States. But now they're back, and they've got something else they're trying with some head fakes here and there. The whole point is, imagine as though it's a militarized enemy with a functioning leadership, and it's aiming at the United States, and it's trying to wipe us out. You would think that everybody in the U.S. would align against it, and that isn't happening. Try this thought experiment. Envision the coronavirus, also known as COVID-19, as a living, breathing enemy, which, of course, is exactly what it is. But imagine for a minute that we are in a real war with a cognizant, thinking, clever enemy whose only reason to live is to hurt, maim, or kill as many of us as it can. COVID-19 may not have jets, tanks, or nuclear weapons, but its arsenal, its numbers, its cunning, and its willpower are said to be formidable. To win its war against Americans, COVID-19 must infect and sicken lots of Americans every day. If it can't infect enough victims to multiply and sustain a hungry army of viruses, COVID-19 will soon sputter and die. It'll get trapped in just a few hosts among an otherwise victorious and healthy nation of about 330 million. Interesting to think of it that way because he's exactly right. And we're not united against this thing. We get too many people attempting to carve political advantage out of it. But I love also the expression here that it is simply, it needs healthy hosts. We can't contain it in the sense that we think we can. Testing and all these things don't contain the virus. It needs to run out of healthy hosts. And that can happen in a number of ways. Healthy hosts need to develop immune systems that spread and render the virus helpless against most of the patients that it attacks. But again, I just want to remind you, the total number of coronavirus deaths in the United States as we speak is 39. In a story featuring this degree of omnipresent panic, don't you think the death toll would be one of the lead items in stories about this? Who's next? Mike in Cincinnati. Great to have you, sir. You're next in the EIB network. Hello.
Rush Megadittos from the Queen City. It's an honor to talk to you. Long-time listener and first-time caller.
Thank you, sir, very much.
Our friends describe you as the best friend that we've never met in person. So, anyway, wanted to ask you, why do you think the teachers' unions have been so silent about going to online learning? The professors and the big unions, because after all, when you're online, don't you need fewer teachers?
Yeah, I've been wondering that about a lot of things. What if it's discovered that you don't need to go half the places we've been going to get done what you do when you go there?
Right.
Believe me, professional sports have been worried about this since the advent of television. And to a certain extent, that's why the blackout rules existed as they did for a while. But you're right about education, and not just the aspect of it you mentioned, but once the students stay at home, then the teachers union may lose control of the curriculum and everything else. That could open the door to homeschooling, which teaches an entirely different curriculum than what you get in the public school system. Because you can't teleteach everybody. You can't put every classroom on gigantic FaceTime, although they may be thinking about it. But again, in the case of many unions, not all, but realize what is the objective of many unions? Don't make me say it. Figure it out on your own, folks. What is the objective in relation to his call? And we'll take a break. We'll continue after this.
Rush Limbaugh.
Let me share with you a headline that I just saw from the Associated Press. And it's a story from Seattle, which is where most of the coronavirus deaths have happened. Most coronavirus patients recover, still anxiety and fear loom. Most coronavirus patients recover, still anxiety and fear loom. I wonder why. It is the fastest 3 hours in media, and I am hosting them. And that's why they are the fastest 3 hours in media. Great to have you with us, my friends. We head on down the tracks. Telephone number. You want to be on the program today, 800-282-2882, and the email address, lrushbo, eibnet.us. Hey, looky here, just to mention this again, Seattle. The Associated Press, most coronavirus patients recover, still anxiety and fear loom. You people in the media wonder why? Most coronavirus patients recover. Why not stop the headline there? Still, anxiety and fear loom. Despite the global fears of coronavirus, more than 60,000 people who've gotten it have recovered. In fact, hang on here just a second. Let me look at the 68,000 people have recovered. Here are the worldwide numbers. You ready for this? 127,000, let's round it up. 128,000 cases worldwide. The total deaths, 4,718, of which in the United States there are 39. 36. What number do you have, Snerdley? 39. So 39 deaths in the United States, 4,718 around the world. The number of recoveries is 69,000. So here's the headline. Most coronavirus patients recover. Still, anxiety and fear loom. We're being, folks, look, I opened the program today and I've been itching. I was chomping at the bit to get here all night, all morning. Because I had my fill watching television last night. I just can't do it. I'm watching people who are incompetent and unqualified occupy positions of seeming competence on television, doing commentary and analysis, and nothing but a bunch of political boobs that don't know what they're talking about. They have accomplished nothing in their lives, and they're sitting there proclaiming Donald Trump is overmatched. He's not capable. He doesn't have the brain power to deal with complex issues like this from people who are demonstrable failures at what they've done in their own lives. They can't even run magazines paid for by other people. They can't even run magazines funded for them by Rupert Murdoch, for crying out loud. Rupert Murdoch gives them the money for the Weekly Standard, and they still got this stuff. Well, the situation is just too complex for someone like Donald Trump to keep track of. And then some other sniveling little bald-headed creep. He doesn't care about us. Donald Trump doesn't care. He cares about you more than Barack Obama ever did. He cares about you more than Fidel Castro ever would. He cares about you more than Vladimir Putin ever would, or any Chi-Com leader. Look what he did reviving the U.S. economy. Look what he's done for the stupid media business that you're in. What do you mean he doesn't care about you? What do you think Make America Great is? It's making America great so everybody in it has a chance to be great, to be prosperous. What do you mean he doesn't care about you? Donald Trump not sitting there hoping you get sick. You're the guys that are making it very, very hard to do anything about this by trying to reap as much political advantage out of this as you can. I could go through the swine flu numbers again. You realize that 300,000 people were hospitalized, over 60 million people infected with the swine flu, 2009, 2010, 17,000 deaths, the swine flu, and you don't even remember it because the drive-by media was too busy trying to make Obama look brilliant and competent. And they were using it to help him sell Obamacare. Meanwhile, 39 deaths from the coronavirus. Total cases, United States, 1,218. 1,218. The National Hockey League just announced they're stopping their season. The NBA has announced they're stopping their season. We're losing our minds as a nation. We're going soft. This is stupid. This panic and fear. I mean, if people were dropping like flies, it would be one thing. But we're talking about a virus that is from the family of the common cold. But since this is the atmosphere that's been created, then this is, look at this. Tests show coronavirus can live on surfaces for as long as 3 days. Oh, no. Oh, no. Really? Do you know how long germs survive on things and you've never even been told about it before? Now we got these guests on TV wearing their white lab coats. I saw some guy last night that showed up with a white lab coat and a stethoscope just to give himself credibility. Look, no, I'm not panicked. You know why I'm not? Because we're going to come out of this. We always do, but we are wrecking aspects of our economy that are unnecessary to be wrecked. We don't need to be doing this. And I don't even know, I'm not even sure that a majority of American people agree with all of this that's happening. It's just assumed that they do, because another thing the drive-by media does is assume that everything they think represents majority thinking in America. I have a tough time believing that we have become a nation of cowards, quivering in fear, cowering in the corners of our basements, hoping that the coronavirus somehow misses us. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I've become totally out of touch, but I don't think so. And don't misunderstand me. I am not trying to downplay this, and I'm not trying to tell you this thing's a hoax, anything of the sort. I'm saying there's a gigantic sense of proportion missing here on purpose, because this has been politicized. I spotted it the minute it began. When this virus pops up and Donald Trump becomes the number one enemy and the focal point, then what the hell else can it be but political? That takes us to Plugs. I told you the last half hour Plugs was doing a press conference. He, too, was on a prompter. And I knew that Cookie was rolling sound on it, so I didn't have to tell her to do it. I knew that Cookie was going to give me some sound bites, which we now have. This is in Wilmington, Delaware. This is Plugs, where Plugs lives. And some days he knows that he lives there. And here he is speaking about the coronavirus pandemic. 3 bites. This is number 1.
More frequent and more thorough hand washing, staying home from work if you're ill, but also altering the deeply ingrained habits in our country like handshakes and hugs, avoiding large public gatherings. That's why earlier this week, on the recommendation of officials, my campaign canceled election night rallies that we had planned to hold in Cleveland, Ohio. We're also reimagining the format for large crowd events we had planned in Chicago and Miami in the coming days.
Translation, nobody was showing up to my rallies anyway, so it's probably better off that we officially cancel them so that when nobody shows up, it doesn't look bad. How about this? The Democrat presidential nominee telling you to wash your hands. More frequent, more thorough hand washing, staying home from work if you're ill, but also altering the deeply ingrained habits in our country like handshakes and hugs. You can't do that anymore. No more handshakes, no more hugs. Do a bunch of fist bumps or elbow bumps out there, but no more hugs. We can't have any more affection. Besides, that's how Harvey Weinstein got in trouble, and we don't want to go down that road. That's why earlier this week, on the recommendation of officials, my campaign canceled election night rallies we had planned to hold in Cleveland, Ohio, because nobody was going to show up anyway. Who cares to see me? Nobody wants to see me and go to my rallies. You've seen that, so we're just going to go ahead and cancel them. Well, in Plugs' world, every rally is an election night rally. I realize it. That's why earlier this week, at a recommendation of officials, my campaign canceled election night rallies we had planned to hold in Cleveland, Ohio. Well, he's talking about the primary there. He's talking about the primary. He's not talking about he knows he's not going to win Ohio. He also knows he's not going to win Florida. He also knows he's not going to win Wisconsin, and he's not going to win Michigan. He's not going to win any of this stuff. Well, no, Plugs may not know it. They haven't told him yet. So here's the second soundbite. They canceled election large crowd events they'd planned in Chicago and Miami in the coming days. They weren't large crowd events. They're not capable of drawing large crowds. Second bite.
The World Health Organization now has officially declared COVID-19 a pandemic. Downplaying it, being overly dismissive, or spreading misinformation is only going to hurt us and further advantage the spread of the disease. But neither should we panic or fall back on xenophobia.
Okay, so what should we do? Downplaying it, being overly dismissive, or spreading misinformation is only going to hurt us and further advantage the spread of the disease. So the spread of the disease is looking for advantages, huh? Well, I had to slurp it. See, on radio, you have to slurp it because you can't see. And if I would have taken a polite sip, there would have been dead air. And you would have said, what's going on? So by slurping the coffee, there was no dead air, and you were then able to see what I was doing. That is a clever, highly trained professional use of the microphone. Some people think it's rude. It's not. It was a clever use of it. Plus, it's what I felt like doing after listening to Plugs. And here is the third Plugs bite, where he's advocating things be done that Trump has already done. Like free testing and free this and free that and opening this and opening that. Here it is, suggesting.
By next week, the number of tests should be in the millions, not the thousands. We should make every person in a nursing home available for testing. Every senior center or vulnerable population has to have easy access to the test. And we should establish hundreds of mobile testing sites, at least 10 per state, and drive-through testing centers to speed testing and protect the health of our workers. The CDC, private labs, universities, and manufacturers should be working lockstep to get this done and get it done correctly. No effort should be spared, none. No excuses should be made. Tests should be available to all who need them. And the government should stop at nothing to make that happen.
Well, Trump's already done all of that. We should make every person in a nursing home available for testing. Every senior senator, vulnerable population has to have easy access to tests, and we should establish hundreds of mobile testing. Trump has already opened up private sector labs to creating and manufacturing tests, and he did this weeks ago. Plugs. CDC, private labs, universities should be working lockstep to get this done, get it done. It's already been authorized. Plugs doesn't know it, neither do his handlers. Well, his handlers do. They're just counting on the fact that you don't know it. Let's take a brief break. We will continue with much more right after this. Do not go away. My friends, we see reports almost every week. One company, data breach or another. Do you know in the last year there were some 1,500 data breaches that were reported? Businesses of every type like to accumulate customer data information. As you know, information is knowledge. Now, they work hard to protect it. They think they've earned it. They don't want other people getting access to their customer data. But what they're up against, cyber hackers. Cyber hackers, they're good and bad. They're black hat, they're white hat. Some do it for the fun of it. Others have malintent. And they're clever. They work just as hard to illegally obtain those databases and steal the data as the owners do to prevent it from happening. The point is that your online information is not always secure. And for that reason, you need online identity theft protection these days. And if your data ends up in the wrong hands, then bank accounts can get affected, credit cards get used illegally, and who knows, any number of other things can go wrong. LifeLock provides the single best identity theft protection there is out there. Now, no one company can prevent all identity theft, but LifeLock has a multi-tier approach to looking after your data online and providing you with restoration services if you should be a victim of this kind of crime. They'll follow you and stay with you until you are restored, until you're fixed. Sign up this week with LifeLock. Protect your online identity. They are at LifeLock.com or 800-440-4833. 25% off your first year if you use my name. Let me tell you how this works. Very simply. You become a LifeLock member and you give them your Social Security, your credit card information, and then they follow you. Now, they're not following you by name. They're not monitoring, and they're not spying. It's just that your online activity, how you spend money, where you spend money, where you bank, it all creates a profile. And that profile is maintained on LifeLock servers. And as long as Your daily activity is measured against that profile, that baseline. When there's anything odd, when there's a bunch of money spent that isn't normally spent, or if a bank account is opened, then you'll get an alert from LifeLock asking if did you just plunk down $150,000 for whatever. And if you did, you say, yeah, fine, it was me, and everybody goes away. If you didn't, then somebody's been caught defrauding you. This is how it works. And nobody knows it's you until the red flag happens. Nobody's monitoring you. Nobody's tracing you. Nobody's following you. It's just their database is keeping track of the baseline of your online profile. That's how they do it. And a lot of people are trying to do what LifeLock does, and nobody's in their league, folks. There's not a soul that can touch them. It's LifeLock.com or 800-440-4833. Make sure, use my name when you sign up, and it'll get you 25% off the initial price. Here is Pat in Anaheim, California. Great to have you here. Hello.
Hi. I'm just calling about the stock market. I wanted to explain that I'm a total ignoramus when it comes to that. To me, up is good, down is bad. But I have learned from listening every day that when the stock market goes way up, it's going to come way down sooner or later, and vice versa. So when I hear the stock market's down 2,000 points, I don't panic anymore. I don't think, oh no, oh no, oh no. I know that it's going to go up. Sooner or later, that stock market's going up. And I'm not afraid anymore. I think I'm just like the average person who listens every day and realizes that those ups and downs are just part of the game.
You're very mature and very shrewd, and there's a way of proving what you instinctively know.
I didn't instinctively know it. I learned it by listening, and I listened to you guys.
Well, you instinctively know it now. You trust it.
Yeah.
And the fact is, you can go back and look where the stock market was in 2008 and look where it is now.
Yes.
It's up. Go look at it in 2005 versus where it is now. It's up. Go look at it where it was in 2009 versus where it is. It's up. It's only down in relation to the past few months. But
that I don't panic when I hear that.
Exactly, because you know that if you just wait, if you just hang in, it's going to be back up.
Yes, and by the way, I wanted to let you know, I've been listening to you since before Ross Perot. When he came along, I fired the Democrats and joined the Patriot Party. And to me, Donald Trump is Ross Perot with an edge. They both have the same views on the same issues.
They're fairly close on a lot of things. You're absolutely right. One other thing about the market going down, like I don't usually do this, but there are some stocks right now that are so cheap that if you buy stock, that if you invest in the stock market, there are some deals out there today that you couldn't have gotten 5 weeks ago that you're going to get rich on when this recovery happens. Anyway, thanks for the call. We'll be back. America's real anchorman, America's truth detector, and doctor of democracy. Your guiding light. With half my brain tied behind my back just to make it fair, Rush Limbaugh, serving humanity simply by showing up. Back to the phones. This is Neil in Matthews, North Carolina. Welcome, sir. A thrill to have you with us. Hello.
Thanks for taking my call, Rush.
You bet. Happy to have you here.
Okay. Listen, you spoke about the liberal media and the Democrats leading this coronavirus panic, leading to the shutdown of the NBA, now the NHL, Major League Baseball, and you thought maybe, how about in the NFL in the fall? Well, I think it's time for President Trump to call their bluff, and for the health and safety of American citizens, he needs to call to postpone the November elections and stay on as president until we get this thing under control.
Hey, you know what? I actually like that. Same premise. The Democrats they're trying to cancel their primary. Pluggs is out canceling his rallies. Can't have people show up. Can't have the virus spread. Can't have large crowds assembling. They want Trump's rallies to stop. Folks, let me tell you what else. In the National Football League, team after team after team is announcing today they're closing their facilities. Now, this is the off season in the NFL, and players are not at facilities this time of year. They can't legally be there because of the collective bargaining agreement. So the only people at the facilities are team executives as they get ready for free agency, which legally kicks off next week, and the draft, which is coming up, which is going to be in Las Vegas, which is going to be very, very interesting. They're doing the draft in Las Vegas because the Raiders are moving into Las Vegas. It's going to be very, 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 very interesting to see if they do the draft. Because Las Vegas expects to double or triple the number of people usually visiting on a week because of the NFL draft. So the latest team, the Philadelphia Eagles, just closed their facility and pulled their scouts off the road. Daniel Snyder of the Washington Redskins is closing the facility. The Carolina Panthers, I'm not sure. I just saw the list. More and more NFL teams are. You know what this has become? This is a PR bandwagon. Oops, we better close our facility so that the public thinks we care. It's like companies jumping on the climate change train to make customers think they care. Because companies are making the mistake of assuming that everybody believes in climate change, so they glom onto it. And why do they make the mistake of assuming that? Because they all pay attention to media. One of the reasons, if you watch the Super Bowl ads last couple seasons, how many of you have said, man, I don't know, they're not what they used to be. They're not. Advertising itself, to me, particularly television advertising, is nowhere near as creative and innovative as it used to be. And you know why that is? Because they've stopped deciding for themselves and stopped trying to figure out for themselves where culture is. They're depending on the media. So they think everybody believes in climate change, so they glom on to climate change, this and that, and a company will be going green, announcing climate change promotions or whatever, putting polar bears in TV commercials and so forth. And I'll guarantee you what's happening here. This has become a self-fulfilling prophecy. So the NBA cancels or suspends its season. Well, the NHL can't be left off. The NHL can't appear to be irresponsible, so they cancel. Now, here comes the NFL. The NFL doesn't start playing until September. Well, preseason games in August. But they can't appear to be insensitive or left us. So they're closing whatever they've got to close, which is nothing. Nobody goes to the NFL facilities except team executives. So they're shutting those down. Now, Major League Baseball is going to have to do something because their season starts next month. Well, depending on where, the end of this month. And what you have right now is a bunch of bandwagon players. We have 1,200 cases in America with 39 deaths, and we're doing all of this. We've literally become a culture of a bunch of followers. And you have to look far and wide to find any courageous leaders anymore. It's a sad, sad thing. And it's because of the politicization of so much. And it's because of the dominance of wimp politics, which is liberalism, that is infecting everything. A bunch of wimps disguised as compassionate, concerned, sensitive people is wimpifying practically everything they can get their political hands on. So pretty soon, I mean, you're going to be, if you're a business, if you're an industry, it's going to be foolish to stay open in the PR sense. And everybody's making the mistake of assuming that a majority of Americans are living their lives cowered in fear in a corner, worried, scared to death, when that may not be what a majority of Americans are thinking about this. But we'll never know because everybody's relying on the media's portrayal of this country every day to be representative of the national attitude on everything. That's why they think everybody hates Trump. Yet Trump is cruising to a landslide re-election victory. They are convinced everybody hates Trump. They're convinced that everybody thinks Trump is an idiot and a buffoon. And that's not what the majority of Americans think. No, I don't know what to do about it. I don't know how you de-emphasize the media. It's a question people have had for as long as we've been alive. Well, one of the big problems is the media is not being hurt by having no audience. CNN literally, in another time, another world, would be out of business. They would have had to shut down. They've got no viewers. They've got no advertiser revenue. But they're part of a conglomerate where they can act as the loss leader. They can use the profits of other areas of the corporation that owns them to stay afloat. Whereas a standalone, they'd have been bankrupt and shut down years ago. CNN's got no audience. Ditto MSNBC. But they're propped up by other things. Anyway, so the NFL officers are shutting down the facilities. The National Hockey League suspending its season after the NBA suspended its. So we got a bunch of copycats. Ladies and gentlemen, let me assure you, the EIB network will not be shutting down. The Excellence in Broadcasting Network will not be shutting down. And I will not be suspending necessary travel I must engage in. I'm not going to be suspending it. There's no place that I'm going to cross off the list where I will not be going. I'm not going to go in and travel internationally, but that's for whole other different reasons. But I'm not going to play. Like when they give a recession, I've always said I'm not participating. And I'm not going to participate in this. Places I have to be, I got to go. And if I have to go, I'm going to go. No, that won't be a problem. No, nobody's going to refuse to take me. That's what's crazy about this. Anyway, let me take a brief time out and continue as the program rolls on at rapid speed today. All right, there's something I've had in the stack today that I haven't had a chance to get to that I'm going to get to now because this news is starting to trickle out about other things. And this is nothing that you and I haven't known. In fact, this should infuriate you, and when you put it in the same context and timeline of this coronavirus story, then it ought to open some eyes. Now, this particular story is from John Solomon at, wait a minute now, is it Solomon? Yeah, it's John Solomon. Here's the headline. FBI's Russia collusion case fell apart in the first month of the Trump presidency memos show. Molly Hemingway has a tweet here saying the Mueller team knew almost immediately upon revelation of the Trump Tower meeting that nothing happened. We know there was nothing to it. This is the whole thing is so frustrating. We know that there was no collusion. We know they had no evidence. We know that Dave Mueller took the job to do the Mueller investigation. He shows up. He asks for the file. Let me see the file on the Russians. The FBI agents say, sorry, Mr. Mueller, there isn't anything in the file. There aren't any Russians. We've known from day one that this thing was made up, that this was a coup, that it was a hoax. So now here we are, 4 years later, and the news is coming out officially because memos have been discovered that these people were writing back and forth to each other that they knew it was a hoax, and they carried this on for 2 years through an election, the 2018 midterms anyway. We told you this was the case. Democrats in and out of the deep state have been gunning for Donald Trump before he took office. It has never stopped. They are gunning for him today with the coronavirus. The Wuhan, China virus is just the latest opportunity these people are using to smear Trump. Here is the upshot of the story. FBI Russia collusion case fell apart in the first month of the Trump presidency. Memos show that these FBI agents knew that Flynn had not colluded with anybody, that the Steele dossier was a pack of lies. They knew that in January 2017. Comey knew the Steele dossier was a pack of lies when he presented it to Trump. This is 2 years before Mueller announced that all this stuff was not true. They knew it. They did a useless 2-year investigation for nothing, and now people are in jail for it. The piecemeal release of FBI files in the Russia collusion investigation has masked an essential fact. James Comey's FBI had substantially debunked the theory that Donald Trump's campaign conspired with Russia by the time he was being inaugurated. They knew when Trump was inaugurated that this story was bogus, that there was nothing to it. I maintain they knew it before that. But the point is that memos back and forth between Comey and all these other charlatans in the FBI knew full well they did a phony, useless 2-year investigation headed by Mueller as a figurehead, hoping to create crimes, hoping to frighten Trump and Trump people into committing crimes that they could get them on then, or that they could falsely accuse people of commit or process crimes, you name it. This is exactly what we thought it was, and they knew it. And folks, I am agitated because this is the ripest, the most outrageous political scandal. People need to be in jail for a long time. They need to be right there next to Harvey Weinstein's in jail for 23 years, then put these people there at the same time. The proof is now sitting in plain view. In rapid-fire sequence, January 2017, U.S. officials received multiple warnings that Steele and his dossier were a bunch of crap. They affirmed key targets of the FBI counterintelligence investigation made exculpatory statements denying collusion, meaning there was evidence they didn't do it that was ignored. And they concluded that Mike Flynn, Trump's first national security advisor, was not engaged in collusion with Russians, and he's still waiting to be sentenced. His life has been ruined by these people, and they knew he never did diddly squat. And the same type of mentality is running this coronavirus crap, folks, against Donald Trump. Make no mistake about it. Hey, we recommended one company that you can trust to digitize your family's special memories captured on film and videotape, and that's Legacy Box, the company that's based in Tennessee. What they do is they take all of your old memories that are on videotape that's no longer playable, like Betamax, VHS, Super 8 film, and they transfer it digitally, high speed transfer, best way to maintain the original quality, and put it on DVDs or thumb drives, however you want it. And that